Michael Savage.
Afternoons 3 to 7.
On Talk 910 KNEW.
And online at 910KNEW.com.
Warning. The Michael Savage Show contains adult language, adult content, psychological nudity. Listener discretion is advised.
Now, America's most exciting radio talk show, The Savage Nation. Here is Michael Savage.
Now of what Israel's calling all-out war with Hamas.
At least 315 people have been killed.
More than 340 people have been killed.
More than 300 people in Gaza are dead. Nearly 1,500 hurt.
Day 3 of airstrikes on Hamas.
500 people at this demonstration outside the Israeli embassy.
Violent protests on the West Bank.
The photographer is getting pushed back right now.
At what point will this ever cease?
Flocks of Palestinian sympathizers have taken to the streets there.
Kind of a different, more violent scene here, beating things with sticks and stomping on them and shouting and getting quite violent.
Deadliest in the Palestinian territories in decades.
Out of politics desk in Washington, Barack Obama, the effects of life under constant media scrutiny. We're going to examine that question.
All right, this is the Savage Nation. It's Michael. I'm here with you live. I know most folks are off this week in radio, and that's understandable. I came in because I feel that the Middle East situation is such that we need to discuss it. And the first question I'm going to ask you today is really very straightforward. Was Israel right to retaliate with airstrikes for the rocket attacks from Gaza? Now, it's an interesting question in that both sides are presented in the question. There have been rocket attacks from Gaza for years now. Israel gave back the Gaza Strip. I thought it was a bad idea. Within a few days, the nurseries that had been passed on to the Palestinians were ripped apart and the parts sold off. Rocket factories were created, and Katyusha rockets have been launched into Israel on a regular basis. And after years of provocation, Israel has smacked down as a hammer on an anvil, shocking, frankly, not only the Palestinians, but the entire Arab world and the world itself. I was gulled by the Israelis. I thought that they had given up and lost the will to live and the ability to fight, but they had me fooled. Apparently, for the last year, they have been doing their homework. The Israelis have been studying their enemy. They seem to know where virtually every Katyusha rocket is being fired from. In fact, if you look at michaelsavage.com, there's some amazing stories linked up from various sites which show gun camera footage from the F-16s that the Israelis are flying, showing them bombing with bunker bombs underground launching sites. It's pretty amazing. And the question is, was Israel right to retaliate with airstrikes for the rocket attacks from Gaza? Now, I don't expect us to agree on this. I know I'm going to disagree probably with everybody on this issue because there's right on both sides and there's wrong on both sides. Let's look at the reality of the situation. You have millions of Palestinians, whether you like them or you hate them. You have millions of Israelis, whether you like them or you hate them, who are there in a very small area of the world. It is almost biblical in its magnitude. I personally don't see a solution. People say, let there be a two-state solution. I don't see how that could ever work anymore. I mean, if the Gaza Strip is an example of what the Israelis would expect from a Palestinian state, why on earth would you want to commit suicide? Now, that doesn't mean the Israelis are right, and it doesn't mean the Palestinians are wrong. And nor does it mean the Palestinians are just in their actions, and the Israelis are interlopers who should go back to Poland. It's just not the answer. But, you know, let's look at this from the reality point of view. What if rockets had been launched for 6 years now from Mexico into Arizona or New Mexico or Texas or Southern California from a breakaway group of Mexican nationalists who say, you stole it from us, it's Mexican land, which it actually is if you want to look back far enough, and we're going to take it back by force. and by population demographics. Now, what do you think a superpower is going to do, irrespective of right or wrong or the creeps from the UN? What do you think the United States would do if rockets had been launched from Mexico? And having said all of this, I'd like to add something else. I only wish that we Americans had the same love for our land that the Palestinians seem to have for theirs. I only wish we would fight for every square centimeter of our soil the way the folks in the Middle East fight for theirs. We don't seem to care, and that is why we're being overrun by Mexicans and Central Americans who seem to think they have a right to step on our neck and spit in our face. I only wish we Americans were willing to fight for our land the same way the Palestinians are willing to fight for their land. But it goes back to the same question. Was Israel right to retaliate with airstrikes for the rocket attacks from Gaza? The phone number here is 1-800-449-8255. This is the Savage Nation. The fact of the matter is, I've been receiving emails on this subject as well, and here is one I'm going to read to you from an anonymous source. Here we are 3 weeks away from Barack Obama taking office, and the military actions are taking place in Gaza. It almost makes Biden prophetic when he said within the first 6 months Obama will be tested. Well, how about the first 6 minutes? The reader sends me this note. He says, I've been in Rosh Pina in the Upper Galilee sitting in a friend's backyard and had Katyusha rockets hit a block down the street in 99 and 2000. Hamas and Hezbollah fire without any idea where they're going. They just pray to Allah they hit innocent Israelis. They are a sick bunch. Normally when a nation goes to war and they gain land, they don't give it back. Israel was attacked. They fought back and gained land. And then in the name of peace, they gave back the land, and they fought, bled, and died for, and that isn't enough. Apparently, the Palestinians never want peace. They want Israel driven into the Mediterranean. We all know that's never going to happen. So, he says, they would be best to take what they have been given and go on with their lives. If not, expect their neighbor to punch back when they are punched. He goes on to say, even the other Arabs in Syria, Jordan, Saudi Arabia, Lebanon want nothing to do with the Palestinians. If their own don't want them, why is the Jew forced to embrace them, he writes. Yet they do, and even want peace with them. Well, those are some of the sentiments. I'm sure you've heard some of them before. I want to repeat, I've had Palestinian friends when I was in graduate school, and everybody in the Arab world knows the following. This is well known in the scientific community. The Palestinians are the smartest of all the Arabic speaking peoples. Everybody knows that. It's also true that all the other countries don't want the Palestinians in their country, for whatever the reason may be, probably because they're so smart and there's too much competition. And I also want to remind you that the Jordanians, who are certainly of Arabic descent, the Jordanians fought a war with the Palestinians in 1970. They kicked the Palestinians, frankly, out of Jordan at the time, in a bloody massacre called the Black September Uprising. This occurred when the Palestinians who were living in Jordan attempted to take over the nation of Jordan itself. The Jordanian military killed every man, woman, and child that they could. Remember,